All right. All right. You can hear me well, Thomas, right?
Yes, sir.
I want to say good evening and welcome. And I am so grateful to you tonight to be with us, Thomas. This is a special honor for.
Unmute yourself again, bro.
All right. I'm unmuted. All right. Perfect. Hey, thank you for being with us. My name is Verle Yoder. I'm a director with a company called Conklin. We hosted quite a big contractors event on the latter part of March, just a couple months ago. We invited Mr. Thomas Blackwell in as a keynote speaker at that event and had such an outstanding outpouring of great positive feedback that we decided we want to do something special as a little follow-up after the event. And so what Thomas did, he offered a little special 90-minute high performance talk, as he called it. And so this is tonight, May 30th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks to all of you who are joining. I know there'll be dozens more joining us later on, but I want to say a special welcome to you. Thomas is a speaker from living down. He's an author. He's a speaker living down in the southeastern United States of America. He has, however, not only traveled the entire United States, but also the world, spoke to hundreds of thousands of people, wrote the book called The Liberty of Your Language Revealed, and is making a huge impact across the world. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Thomas. Thank you so much. We're highly honored that you chose to spend some time with us, some 90-minute precious of your time tonight with us, with our team here tonight. So welcome to the call.
Thank you so much. What a privilege to be here with you all. And thank you for making the effort to come. I see Tonica's got her book there. Hopefully I signed it for you. Maybe not. We'll have to meet later if I didn't. But what really an honor. So thank you, Verle, for all you're doing. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, everybody, for making an effort to be here. As I often mention, I'm not sure what you're going to get from this evening, but you are going to get something. And when you do get that something, the key is to write it down. I believe that when you write down your inspirations, you're blessed with more of them. And if we discard them, then I believe we are not blessed with a lot more of them. And so keep that in mind, that when you're blessed with these impressions, these inspirations, it's for a reason. So get in a spot where you can note those down. And here's a thing about note taking. Oftentimes I'll go to conferences, I'll take a bunch of notes and things, and great. And then oftentimes I won't go back and look at them. And I learned that an inspirational way to remember those notes is once you received an inspiration, right next to it, write an action item. What are you going to do with that inspiration? Because it's one thing just to receive an inspiration. It's a whole nother game, a whole nother power and empowerment to do something about it. So as you receive the inspiration that you will tonight, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do? What action are you going to take? And that's the most important thing to write down, is what action you're going to take. And I want you to get into a contemplative state at this point. And this is, I'm in my office here, and it's an intimate setting where you're in your different locations and things like that. But I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to take a moment, take 60 seconds, and we're going to have a moment of silence. And in that moment of silence, I'm going to have you ask our great maker, whatever that means for you, and however you do that, that you'll receive the inspiration that you need tonight. I'm taking the effort to be here. I have prayed over this. I have prayed for you that you'll receive something, but I want you to receive what you're supposed to. So I want you to ask specifically that you'll receive what you're supposed to tonight and that you'll accept it. So two-part, one, that you'll receive it, and then two, that you'll accept it. I'm going to give you a moment of silence, and I'm just going to let you get in that meditative, contemplative, prayerful state, whatever that means for you. So let's take 60 seconds right now. All right. As you wrap that up, thank you for taking a moment to do that. You know, I live life not as a guessing game. My life is not a guessing game, and I believe nobody's has to be, because when we seek higher knowledge, higher power, we'll always get the answers, and it never has to be a guessing game. And what a beautiful thing that is. So again, want you to hear not necessarily what I'm saying to you, but the inspiration that you're receiving, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I realize some may be able to see that, and some of you are calling in. That's just fine. But I do have some visuals I wanted to show here, and I will speak to those visuals. So if you cannot see them, that's fine. I will speak as if you can see them. So, but we'll go through that here. So there's a thing called affirmations. And the tagline to my book is, "We bring about what we talk about." And that is absolutely true. And I want to take that a step further, that we bring about what we affirm about. If you affirm things in your life, they will absolutely happen. And so some of my affirmations I'm going to talk about tonight. One of those affirmations is, great things are always happening for me. I say that every single day. I'm always meeting great people, and great things are always happening for me. And many of you heard me speak in Indiana, and you remember me talking about the captain and the crew, that you are the captain of your ship, of your life, your body, your universe, and your crew obeys everything you say. And they say, aye, captain. So if you as the captain say, today's going to be an amazing day, your crew says, aye, captain. We'll get right to work and make that happen. A lot of people sink their ships on a daily basis, and they say, oh, it rained today. How can it possibly be a great day? Right? And it's not a great day. And so your crew goes to work and to make that happen, because they also say, aye, captain. So we truly bring about what we affirm about. So oftentimes we don't realize that we're saying an affirmation, but we really are. Now, one of those that is mine, and you're welcome to use it and put it into place, and you watch how the miracles start showing up. In fact, that could be an affirmation. Miracles arrive in my life every single day. Well, great things are always happening for me. Let me share with you a little story. It was Christmas time, this last Christmas, and my wife and daughter and I were in Phoenix, Arizona, and we were going and attending a ballet. And inside of that, my daily affirmation, I have a ritual in the morning. I get up, I say my own personal prayers. I read scripture, quite honestly, and then I do my affirmations. And that's one of them I say. Well, this day was no different. And I'm always expecting great things to happen in my life. So after the play, we decided that we would go get some lunch together. Now, interesting enough, that where we were, there was a spot that was about 25 to 30 minutes away from the concert hall where we were, and it was a bit away, and there was a restaurant that we wanted, and there was two different locations. Well, it was very clear that we were supposed to go to one particular location, even though that restaurant was farther than the other one. Same restaurant, that was just a little further, but we had this feeling of, okay, let's go to that one. So when we went there, you could eat inside or you could eat outside. Now, this was December, but it's Arizona, so it was like 70 degrees. So it was okay to eat outside. We had the feeling to eat outside, and so we did. As the waiter approached us, he came down and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he said, "Thomas, is that really you?" Now, understanding that we live in Atlanta, Georgia, we don't live in Phoenix, but he says, "Thomas, is that really you?" And I look up, and sure enough, I get out of my seat real quick and I give this waiter a hug, because his name is Vincent, and I know Vincent. And I believe I put a picture of us. Yeah, there's Vincent. Well, about 17 years previous, I taught a religious study course, a volunteer course for students at a high school locally there in Arizona. We hadn't lived in Arizona for many, almost 2 decades. And Vincent was in my class. Vincent was in my class. And he was a freshman in high school at that time. And he said, this is just so amazing. This is so amazing because I was off the clock. I was done with my shift here. And I said to my boss, I said, you know what? I'm going to take one more table. So he was essentially walking out from work. And he says, I'm going to take one more table. And he says, yours was the table. And I didn't realize it was you. And he said, I really needed to see you today. And he has been dealing with some things in his own life that he was questioning things and God, really. And we had this bond, and we were really close at that time, but I hadn't seen him in about 17 years. Well, I happened to have a book. I gave him my book, and I said, I've written a book since. And anyway, we followed up, and he said he finished that book in 2 days. And he said, absolutely amazing that we saw each other, and I absolutely needed this, and it's changed his mindset around, and he's doing much better now. But God knew that, right? How was I supposed to know that 25, 30 minutes away, we were supposed to go to a restaurant that was the same restaurant, but the farther one, and sit outside instead of inside. He picks the last table, yet he was on his way out from working his shift. I couldn't have coordinated that. Why did that happen? Because great things are always happening for me. Do you see this? Great things are always happening for me. Why? Because I said so. So I'm going to give you that opportunity to start saying that every day. Great things are always happening for me. Now, listen to this. Shortly after there, I'm in an airport and flying from, I think I was in Idaho, and flying to Salt Lake City or something like that. And I'd just done a consulting and speaking opportunity up there. And on the plane, I look back and I noticed there's a gentleman, and he is in a full-on cowboy outfit. This gentleman is a full-on rancher and cowboy. He is carrying his horse saddle on the plane. He has his horse saddle with him. And so, true cowboy. And that caught my attention, and I was impressed by that. You know, he was obviously very good at his craft. And so after there, the Salt Lake Airport's a pretty large airport. And to walk from one terminal to the other side is almost 2 miles. And so I had to go from one small terminal over to the other side, and I'm walking underground in this tunnel. And at the end, about to go up the escalator to the other side, I see this cowboy that was on our plane. And he's trying to adjust his things and everything, and his saddle there, and he has it on the ground, and he sees me, and he said, hey, excuse me, sir. He says, I don't know why, but I just feel drawn to you. And I said, oh? He said, yeah, I don't know why. He says, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I own a company, and we significantly improve the language and mindset of people all around the world. And we leave them better than we found them, essentially, is what I told him. And I said, I wrote a book, and I have the opportunity to speak all over the world. And he says, wow, that's just so interesting. Wow. He said, what's your book? And I said, well, it's called The Liberty of Our Language Revealed. But we were on the go, right? And so we sort of were going up this escalator together. Well, it turns out that we go to a lounge together where you can go and wait for your next plane and things. And he happens to be in there, and so do I. And I said, hey, you know what? I actually have a book here with me. Now, every time I travel, I take 2 books with me in my computer case. And I say a little prayer. I say, Lord, you guide me to who needs these books. And I always find somebody. And excuse me, I don't find them. Really, the divine finds them, and then I exchange these books. And so I got the clear impression, give this man a book. So I take out my book and I show him, and I sign it to him, and I place my book down, and he gets shocked. He looks at the cover and he's shocked. And essentially his eyes start to well up with tears a bit. And I have no idea what's happening. And he just said, hold on a minute. And he digs into his backpack and he said, look, this is my journal. This is my journal. And he placed it down by my book. Now, if you can see the cover of my book there, that is a leather-bound journal on the picture there. And look at the journal this man keeps. It is the exact journal that's on the cover of my book. Well, that gave me the chills. And he said, I knew we were connected. And I said, you're going to love this story. It's about a book that I find, and I write the book, and you'll love the story. And we connected. He gave me his card, and he's a pastor. And he pastors people in a unique way, and he helps them through horse therapy, and he helps folks overcome their trials and troubles, and helps them heal through horse riding and things. And it was a beautiful connection. And I couldn't have put that together. But why did that happen? Because great things are always happening for me. And I could tell you hours and days upon days of stories of how this is always happening, because I'm always saying it. So here is your opportunity. Implement this. Take this to action. Say, great things are always happening for me every day. And you watch how this majestic divine hand in your life starts producing great things to happen for you. What happens is the opposite. Oftentimes people say, oh, I hope today's a good day. Well, hope is certainly a real thing and a powerful thing. It's certainly good to have hope. But when you say, I hope, there's no commitment. Still how this sounds different. I hope today is a good day. I hope I have a good marriage. I hope I'm a good guy. I hope I'm a good father or husband, versus today's a great day. I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. The crew doesn't know what to do with non-committal words. And you probably remember me telling you this because there's a chapter in my book called The Words of Integrity. That non-committal language produces non-committal people and non-committal cultures. So if you want it, say it and be real about it. Great things are always happening for me. So there's an action item for you. Well, there's an interesting couple phrases here that I have on the screen that says, I can't versus I won't. As you know, can't is also a downer word. Can't is a very weak word. It's a powerless word. When I say I can't do something, again, the crew says, aye, Captain, and it goes to work to make that not happen and not a reality. But I want to clarify something, because if I came up to somebody and I said, can you dance? Can you dance? Oftentimes, interesting enough, the answer is no, Thomas, I can't dance. And I'll say, is it that you can't dance or you won't dance? And they say, well, I guess I could dance. It just doesn't look very nice. It doesn't look very pretty. Right? I've got two left feet, as they say, and I say, aye, Captain, if you say so. But the difference is we can do anything. We can be anything, right? Especially as it says in the Bible, with God, all things are possible. He doesn't say some things are possible. That's not the words. It says all things are possible. It's us that put on limiting beliefs. I can't get to a higher level in Conklin roofing. I can't achieve the success that perhaps Verle or somebody else has. No. It's that you won't. There's effort involved. And what does won't come with? It comes with emotion. And really, here's the big one: fear of all the emotions around it. See, when somebody says, I can't dance, no, it's you won't dance because you're afraid what people will think or how they'll look at you, or that you might fall over, or that you might look uncoordinated. You get rid of all that fear, and all of a sudden you can. And you can do anything when you eliminate the fear. Well, I can't be as successful as that next person. Is it that you can't or you won't? That you're afraid to put in the effort, that you're afraid to do what it takes to be successful. So be conscious of that you can do anything, and recognize that it's not that you can't, which is a straight stop in your ability, right? It's that you won't. So here's the phrase. This is key right here. You let go of the reasons why you won't. Let go of all of them. Let go of all the reasons why you won't, and move forward with what you can do. Let go of all those reasons. And essentially, here's a phrase that I made up. This is fun. Turn your won'ts into wills and your weaknesses into skills. Turn your won'ts into wills and your weaknesses into skills. That's what it's all about. You see, anybody who achieved anything, and I mean anything, whether that's a successful relationship, in business, a successful community leader, whatever that means, they let go of the reasons why they couldn't do it. They let them all go. They turn their won'ts into, I'm going to do this and I will do this, and they turn those weaknesses into skills. Again, turn your won'ts into wills and your weaknesses into skills. Hey, here's another one I'll give to you. It's on the top of my mind. It's not on the screen, but turn your can'ts into cans and your dreams into plans. How do you like that one? Turn your can'ts into cans and your dreams into plans. So it's just about switching things around. It's about changing your language and changing your results. It's about telling your crew, you as the captain, that you can do it versus you can't do it. That you will do it versus you won't do it. That's it. And all of a sudden, things go into motion. And let me just be clear about something. Things are going to get into motion regardless. They're either going to go down the can't, fall off the cliff level, or climb the mountain, achieve great things level. But either way, something's going to go into motion. And what do you want to put into motion? The achievement or the opposite? Now, let's talk about accountability, because there's a whole language about accountability. And essentially, I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again, that you don't get what you deserve in life. You don't get what you deserve in life, and that might be contrary to common belief, but that's not true. You actually get what you expect. You get what you expect in life. And I can tell a person's expectations really fast just by speaking to them and just by hearing what they say. I can tell a person's expectations. It often occurs that I'm speaking, or I'll go to consult a company with my coaching division. I have a peak performance coaching division. I coach high-level leaders that want to achieve greatly. And they'll say, we want to change the culture, Thomas, in our company. And I'll say, give me 15 minutes. Give me 20 minutes at the most. They said, really? I said, yeah, let me just go listen to your people talk. And very quickly, I'll be able to tell what their expectation is. If they're expecting great things in their life, if they're expecting to be successful, if they're expecting to achieve, or if they aren't expecting that, if they're expecting things to go wrong, and expecting not to progress. I can tell right away just by how people talk. So what are your expectations? Here's another affirmation that I say every single day. We bring about what we affirm about. I say my life is better than expected, and my expectations are pretty high. My life is better than expected. My expectations are pretty high. You know what? If you would just respond, you got to put this to the test. When someone says, hey, how are you doing today? You say, my life is better than expected. My expectations are pretty high. That will cause curiosity because you're so enthusiastic. Enthusiasm is one of the fastest ways to create curiosity. And people want to say, why? How? Well, it's because our business is going so good. Well, what do you do for business? Well, let me tell you about it. Right? They brought it up, not me. But why do they want to know? It's because I was enthusiastic, right? It's the fastest way to naturally cause interest. And in sales, when you're selling something, that's one of the best tools, is to show people some enthusiasm. They'll want to know what's so great about you. Because here's the thing, success is not pursued. Success is attracted. We don't go out and we don't pursue success. We attract success. So I say, are you an attractive person? Is your language attractive? Do people want to hang around you? Right? Well, when you say phrases like, my life is better than expected, my expectations are pretty high, trust me, they're interested. Now, we set our expectations by what we say. And it's interesting how many relationships and things like that get misaligned. It's a phrase you've heard of. It's called misaligned expectations. I mean, honestly, if I were to line up relationships and ask and dive deep into perhaps why a relationship did not succeed, any relationship, personal, spousal, business, family, whatever. What happens is misaligned expectations happen. And when misaligned expectations happen, people go two separate directions, and because they're not aligned, there's no interest. Well, I'm going to teach you something that has been amazing in my business, in my life, and it's called an expectation agreement, to where there's no guessing games in my life. And so how do you set an expectation agreement? It's very simple. There's 3 simple aspects to an expectation agreement. Aspect number 1, what is the goal or task? Number 2, when is it going to be accomplished? And number 3, what is the result, the reward, or the compensation? I'll give you an example with number 1. We have a few acres here, probably like some of you do too. And I travel a lot, that I contract a landscape maintenance company to come and clean my yard and mow the grass and things like that. I really enjoy doing that, quite honestly, but I travel quite a bit. So it's just made sense for this particular home to do that. Well, when they came, I set up an expectation agreement with them. So there's no guessing game, because I've had it in the past where I expected them to cut the grass or trim the trees a certain way, and I came home and they weren't. Well, I couldn't get mad at them because I didn't set the expectation. Have you ever done this? As a parent, sometimes we'll say, hey, to a child, go clean your room. And the child comes out all excited in 2 minutes and says, Dad, Mom, the room is cleaned. And you go into that room and it looks like a pigsty. And you say, I thought I told you to clean the room. Well, I did, Dad. I did, Mom. Well, say, well, your clothes are hanging out of the drawer and your bed's not made and these sorts of things. But you didn't set the expectation. To them, they thought maybe pick up their socks off the floor and the room would be clean. That was it. And so do you see how there can be misaligned expectations? And so next time I'm going to say, here's what a clean room looks like. It means your bed is made. It means your drawers are closed and the clothes aren't hanging out and all your laundry's off the floor and your dresser is clean and there's no dust on it and these sorts of things. And the food that snuck in here is now in the kitchen and these sorts of things. And they're like, oh, that's what you expected. Yeah. But what happens is parents otherwise come in and they get a little upset because they say, why didn't you clean your room? And the culprit is themselves. The language of accountability. So number 1, again, what is the goal or task? What is it supposed to look like? Number 2, when is it to be accomplished? Time frames are crucial. Now, you can use this in business, and you should use this in business. When do you expect this to be done reasonably? And if it doesn't get done at that time, then you set up a new expectation. But this holds people accountable. We've gone through life too often times with people not being held accountable. It's become really a cancer in society. And then what is the result, the reward, the compensation? So I did this with my yard maintenance people, and there's no guessing games. They know exactly what I want the yard to look like. They come every 2 weeks on Monday, because that's what we put when, and how much am I going to compensate them? And it's just a half sheet of paper that I write these little things. I sign it, they sign it, and we both have a copy of it. And it's been amazing. There's no misaligned expectations in my life because I set up simple expectation agreements. You can do this with people you're working with, and you probably do. You do this with contracts and things like that. But I'm building up here that, this also deals with integrity. So what happens when there's no expectation agreement? There's this non-committal language. Here's what some non-committal language might sound like. Well, I hope to get the job done today. I'm going to try to get the job done. We're going to do our best to get the job done. That automatically you're breaking a trust with those people. So by setting up an expectation agreement, you're actually locking in expectations, aligned expectations, and trust with those people. And they'll want to do business with you, and they'll want to refer you to a lot of people as well. Simple things. So here's a few things that I expect out of life. Number 1, I expect people to be proactive in my life. I expect them to get things done. Number 2, I expect people to improve. Because I set these expectations out, my universe, my crew, it goes to work to make things happen. And if you want to get into my sphere of influence, this has to happen. And it's so amazing because when people don't meet those expectations, it's like they're repelled. It's like they're rejected from my environment. And I want it to be that way. I want that to be that way. So oftentimes people have no expectations and they wonder, like, I don't know why I keep attracting, negative and people who don't have any integrity in my life. Well, it's because you have no expectations, right? In fact, that is your expectation. I expect negative people to show up. Oh, goodness. Wow. Aye, Captain. I expect great things in my life. I expect life to be beautiful. So again, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you expect. And I can tell your expectations simply by what you say. I expect today to be an amazing day. I expect this call with you all here tonight to be absolutely fascinating, wonderful, and amazing. And that's what's happening. In fact, my expectations are so high and it's going to be better than that. So when you get clear, things get clear. I'll say that again because it's simple. When you get clear, things in your life get clear. Oftentimes people walk around with such a fog, such a cloudy, their life, and it's because they're not putting intention out there. They're not, what's the phrase? They're not daring to declare. Declare what you want and watch things happen. So when you give the power, again, to reasons, just to reiterate, why it didn't happen, you become powerless. Some might call those excuses. When you give the power to reasons why something did not happen, you become powerless. So I wonder what you're giving power to. Are you taking the power for yourself? I'll give you an example. When you lose your excuses, you'll find your results. Simple phraseology here. When you lose those excuses, you'll find your results. I got rid of all my excuses, can't find them anymore. Oh my goodness, there's the result. It was there all along, but your excuses were dwarfing it. Because that's what you were looking for, perhaps. Can you go throughout your life with 0 excuses? whether you said yes or whether you said no, I just said, aye, Captain. Can you go throughout your life with no excuses? Can you go throughout your life with high expectations? Whether you say yes or whether you say no, you're right. So it's up to you. So if you said no, great. That's going to be your reality. If you said absolutely yes, that's your reality. So this whole thing of a language of accountability, oftentimes we're giving the power to other things and other people. And here's what some of that language sounds like. Replacing the pointing the finger really syndrome. They, it, he, she, they made me mad. It made me mad. He made me mad. She made me mad. It drove me crazy. That drives me crazy. They drive me crazy. They, he, she has no power to do that. It's actually impossible. It's not even a possibility. The fact is you chose to be mad. You chose to be angry, and you chose to be driven crazy. So take back your power and put your hands in your pockets and get rid of the finger pointing syndrome. It's because of that we weren't successful. This is the reason we didn't get the job done. No, you didn't get the job done. And when you empower yourself with that responsibility, you watch what happens, that you become more powerful and empowering to others. Watch as you become an inspiration to others. So when I see the situation, I get to choose, am I going to be angry because of that situation? Do I want to be angry? How does it feel when I'm angry? Not so good. You know what? I'm going to choose to be happy about it. I'm going to choose to find the good in it. Because you'll find whatever you're looking for. I'll say that again. You'll find, my friends, whatever you're looking for. If you go looking for the good, you'll find it. If you go looking for the bad, you'll find it in people, in situations, in circumstances. I promise. You can find people. You can find things in people that they're working on, weaknesses in anybody, if you're looking for that. As a parent, this has been amazing for me because when you'll find whatever you're looking for, but as I find and praise the good, I get more good. If I find and praise the bad, I get more bad. What am I saying? You get more of what you recognize and praise. You get more of what you recognize and praise. Now, let me tell you what the kryptonite to being accountable is. Now, some of you are probably familiar with this, some may not, so I'll just explain. Kryptonite, there's an old superhero show or movie called Superman. And Superman, nothing could hurt Superman except one thing, a thing called kryptonite. And kryptonite was just like a green, it was a movie, so work with me here. It was just a green rock or something like that, that if he came near the kryptonite, it made Superman weak. So his enemies, if they wanted to weaken the amazing Superman, they would go and bring kryptonite by him, and that was the only way that he was going to be weak. Otherwise, he was Mr. Superhero. So what is your kryptonite to being accountable? Here they are. Number 1, blaming. Number 2, excuses. And number 3, criticizing. Those 3 things, blaming, excuses, and criticizing. So you get rid of those, stop blaming other things and other people for your lack of success or why something didn't happen. Excuses, giving power to the reasons why they didn't happen, or criticizing. You see, this is in my book in the chapter of the language of, when it comes to money matters. When it comes to money matters, I say in there, you cannot attract that which you criticize. You cannot attract that which you criticize. So if you're critical of someone or something and you're expecting it to be more attractive, it's not happening. So think about if we're critical towards someone or something, that is going to detract from us. You cannot attract that which you criticize. So when it comes to money, right? If you're critical of money and things like that, you're detracting, you're dispelling it, you're rejecting it. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here. I'm going to give you a 30-day opportunity for growth. A 30-day opportunity for growth. Now, you notice I don't say challenge. I don't say challenge or trials or things like that. I say opportunities for growth. We're having some challenges. No. We're just having an opportunity for growth. That's what those are. Switch those words around. Here's your opportunity for the next 30 days. 1, no blaming. Number 2, no excuses. And number 3, no criticizing. Take total control of your actions and responses for the next 30 days. Now, I can see a small handful of you. Many of you are calling in. You're going to write on your paper, I'm in or I'm out. If you're in, that means for the next 30 days, you've agreed, and then you're going to put your initials or you're going to sign right by it, that you're not going to blame, no excuses and no criticizing. So if you're in, write I'm in. And if you're not going to take on that opportunity, you write I'm out. But either way, decide. And I'm not attached. You can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you this will make a major positive change in your life. But you have to decide. It's not my opportunity, it's your opportunity. So if you're in, write I'm in and initial it or sign right by it. Show your commitment. Like a contract. Like an expectation agreement. Now, why 30 days? They say habit forming is 21 days. Well, we've done a lot more research on this, and I want to clarify this. New neural pathways get formed with new habits, but it takes 62 to 65 repetitions to create a new neural pathway. So it's not 21 days or even 30 days. It's that you've done this repetition 62 to 65 times. That creates a new habit. So really in the next 30 days, you're going to have, and the reason I put 30 days, you're going to have more than one opportunity a day, probably 3 to 5 plus every day, not to blame, not to give excuses, and not to criticize. To take total control, to take total accountability, say, I'm responsible for that. Right? I'll share a little story with you. I love to play tennis. And I have a tennis buddy in Virginia that we play often every time I go there. One particular day, we said, we're going to play at 8 a.m. And I didn't show up until 8:15. Now, we know we only have a certain amount of time and a certain time to be on the court and things like that. So it's sacred time. I got there at 8:15. And while I knew I was going to be late, and I'm thinking, should I call him? Should I not? No, just keep going. I am contemplating in my head the excuses or the things I could blame why I was 15 minutes late. Well, it was traffic. Well, it was this. Well, it was that. And I was thinking of all the things that I could give the power to. But the fact is, none of them were true. The fact is, I did not plan well enough to get there on time. Even if there is traffic, well, I need to go earlier. If I know there's going to be traffic, I should have left earlier. So when I got there, there was no blaming, no excuse. I said, hey, I apologize. I'm late. I will do better next time. I know our time is sacred together. I know it's special. I apologize. He said, all good. Think how that feels. I took total accountability and responsibility for my actions instead of saying, it's because, I couldn't find my shoes or this or that or wow, that trap. All this. Well, that's how losers talk, right? When I say losers, that's strong language. The fact is they lose in life. They lose the deal. They lose the achievement. That's how losers talk, with blaming, excuses, and criticizing. But here's the beautiful thing. You all are winners. So this is going to be totally easy for you. Okay, so you're in or you're out. You've already declared it. Now, take ownership and be proactive. Take total ownership of your life, of your circumstances, and be proactive. Essentially, everything that happens, you take control of. And if it doesn't go the way you want, take responsibility. This happened because I, me, mine, this is what I did, and I will do better next time. All you can do is improve, and that's empowering. Oh, that's a beautiful, empowering thing. Here's a key formula. I believe I shared this with many of you when we were in South Bend. It goes like this. E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. Now, if you remember, and it's in my book too, the event, that stands for the event plus the response is equal to the outcome. Okay, so the event plus the response is equal to the outcome. The only thing I have control over in that formula is the response. I have control of nothing, and essentially my outcome, but I don't have control of the event. I don't. Right? There's, you know, I fly a lot, and oftentimes in the airport, if you've several of you have the opportunity to get on a plane, and sometimes things can happen with that plane where we're about to board the plane and the pilot will come out and he'll say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, you know, there'll be 100, 150 people there. Sorry, but we found some mechanical errors on the plane and it's going to be about a 45-minute delay. Well, that was the event. What do you think the responses are in that moment? Sometimes I'll take out my phone and just start recording people to see how they respond. Some people, they're cursing the pilot and the airline and everybody at the airline because they've ruined their day. Well, that was their response. They're critical. They're blaming. Right? Other people, they're fine with it. They're reading a book or something like, oh, well, they'll fix it. My response, which I've gotten better at, by the way, is I am so grateful they found the mechanical error while we're on the ground and not while we're in the air. Doesn't that make more sense? I'm grateful that they figured that out before we all got on there and it was a dangerous situation. So it's more of a thank you and I'm clapping. Way to go, guys. You're awesome. Can you see how that can turn? And so some people are in a rage and angry. That was their outcome. And I'm in a state of gratitude, in a beautiful state. All because how we respond. Now, let's take that a little bit further. There's a thing called first responders. And if I would say, you know, ask you, what's a first responder? We often think of a medical professional or perhaps a public safety professional, police officer, whatever it might be. But these people are what are called first responders. There's a situation, oftentimes an emergency, and they respond first and they go and they take care of the situation. Well, what's their job is to assess the situation and to improve it, make it better. If somebody's hurt, they go right away to respond and help that person feel better. And they take care of it. If the house is on fire, the firemen come and they start putting the fire out and make sure everybody's safe out of the house. They just respond. Now, I want you to imagine if we change their names to first reactors. What if they were not first responders, but they were first reactors? So the firemen come in and they see the house on fire and they had a huge reaction. Oh, seriously? Who lit the house on fire? Right? What were you doing? Playing with matches? Was it you, young man? Was it you, little lady? Nope. That you're learning your lesson. You're going to watch your house burn down. That would never happen. That would be ludicrous. Right? Inconceivable. They don't do that. They come and they go right away to responding and making the situation better. Why do I tell you this? Because oftentimes we are first reactors in our life. And when I react to things, there's emotion, And when there's high emotion, there is low intelligence. High emotion equals low intelligence. So on a simple phrase, you know what I mean? You go in and you see that your child spilt milk all over the floor. If you react, oh, seriously? Why can't you watch what you're doing? Right? Why can't you pay attention? Versus, oh, I see you spilt some milk. What are you going to do about it? Well, I don't know. Well, do you think you should clean it up? Yeah, okay. How are you going to clean it up? I'm going to get some towels. Great. Go get some towels, clean it up, and you're good to go. We've all spilt milk once in a while. That's a responder versus a reactor. And by the way, reactions cause resentment. They totally cause resentment in the people that are receiving that. So as you go through life, be a first responder. Now, again, high emotion, low intelligence. There's the story that perhaps you've heard of. And it's the old adage of there was two friends walking down a trail in the hills. And all of a sudden, a rattlesnake comes out and bites one of the boys. And the other friend is so reactive, is so emotional that that rattlesnake bit his best friend. He chases that rattlesnake down the mountain, finally gets a stick, and takes care of that rattlesnake and kills it. And he's so proud of it that he got revenge on that rattlesnake that hurt his friend. And he's wrapped it around a stick and he carries it back to his friend to show him like a trophy. That, look, I got this rattlesnake that bit you. And he looks at his friend and his friend is dead. Because he reacted instead of responded. What needed to happen? He needed to realize that, oh no, my friend just got bit. That venom travels very quickly. I need to take care of this right away. I need to respond and tie it off so it's contained in one area and get him help right away. That's a response. But because he reacted, high emotion, low intelligence, lost a life. Now that sounds like a dramatic example, but oftentimes this happens in such simple situations. The materials didn't show up to the job that we were supposed to have done this week. Do you react and start yelling at the other company who was supposed to deliver your materials? Or do you respond and say, okay, what needs to happen? How can we make this better? What do we need to do? Take the emotion out of it. Take the fear out of it. And they'll appreciate that because look, I expect that people are doing their best. That's one of my expectations. I expect that they're going to get there on time. And if it's not on time or at the time that we wanted it done, I just find out, is everything okay? What needs to happen? What do we need to do? But then you can see how people go into blame mode. Well, because people say, hey, I thought my roof was going to be done. I thought the job was going to be done. Well, it's because so-and-so didn't show up on time. These people didn't do it right. Da, 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 da. And nobody wants to do business with people like that. That's not attractive. That's compulsive. That's impulsive. That's not attractive. But if you just respond, okay, here's what happened. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. Okay, I want to work with a person like that. And you attract more business. Be a first responder instead of a first reactor. Now, I realize this for many of us, we've had to build up this muscle that whatever level you're at right now, let that set with the sun. Meaning you might be saying, Thomas, oh my goodness, if you grew up in my house, Thomas, we've reacted. My dad's reacted. My grandpa's reacted. My mom, we're pretty much, if you looked up our family, we're titled first reactors. Well, let that go to bed tonight. Let that set with the sun. And what's beautiful is the sun is going to rise tomorrow like it does every day. And oh, what a beautiful thing. Just like on a basic level, I can repent and I forgive and I can wake up the next day and the sun comes out. I believe God blessed us with that beautiful sunset that I can put to rest and put to bed everything that needs to go away. And I can commit to a new day when that sun comes out. So it has no bearing on what you've done in the past. This day forward, be a first responder, have accountability. There's a mentor, and he's written several books. He's a mentor of mine. His name is Robin Sharma, and he's amazing. He, like myself, mentors and coaches people, high achievers, folks that want to high achieve and are in that space. He said this. He said, what you focus on grows. What you think about expands. And what you dwell upon determines your destiny. And I'll say that one more time. What you focus on grows. What you think about expands. And what you dwell upon determines your destiny. So if I were to jump in any one of your brains and think, what is it you focus on? Right? What is on your mind? What's constantly going on in your brain? What are you thinking about? And if that truly determines your destiny, as I know it does, should you change some things? Should you put some things to rest that are no longer in favor of your destiny and let them go to rest? Whatever you focus on expands. So let me share a story with you. Whatever you focus on expands. So I've a few years ago, I had the opportunity to coach a Division I tennis team at a university, and such a great opportunity. I love these gentlemen that I worked with. They were so diligent. They put so much effort into everything, and great athletes, great students, just really proud of them. And I got to tell you, I was very strict with them. There was no tolerance for weakness. We gave no power to blaming, no power to criticizing, no power to excuses, ever. They weren't even allowed on our team. And so, so you who are all leaders here, are those allowed on your team? Right? And if they do come up, do you squash them? Say, on our team, we don't give excuses. On our team, we don't criticize. On our team, so as leaders, you can hold your people accountable too. Well, there was something that we did. In fact, let me introduce you to the team. Those that can see this, there's my team. My number one guy was named Troy. Then going right to left, there's Troy, Blair, Alex, Ammon, Brandon, and Mitch. And to work out, we would do a lot of things. And yes, we would hit a lot of tennis balls, but one of the physical things we did was a thing called a wall sit. Now, a wall sit is where you go up to a wall or a fence. In our case, it was a fence, and you lean against the fence with your back, but you're in the squat position. So your legs are parallel with the ground in a squat position, like you're sitting in a chair. So we call them wall sits or chair sits, but there's no chair to sit on. Your strength in your legs is the chair. Now, you can imagine how your legs would burn on this, and they do, and it's beautiful. Well, in that position, and in tennis, you want to be very strong in that chair position, because whether you're returning a serve or hitting a ball, when you get low and have leg power, it's essential to successful playing. So we would do these wall sits. Well, the fun thing is my team very much disliked them. So I would say, okay, team, let's go do some wall sits. And they knew they weren't allowed to complain. They weren't allowed to say no or nothing. But I could tell by their grunts that they did not like them. That they knew they weren't able to say anything. So if they criticized them, then they knew I was going to tack on more things for them to do. So they go to the wall, and I would have them sit down for 3 minutes. Now, that may not sound like a long time, but you go try it tonight. Go sit against the wall in the parallel position with your legs parallel to the ground, like you're sitting on a chair, and you sit and time yourself for 3 minutes and see how you feel. So they would do it, and I would have the watch holding it up. and I would just look at the clock, and they would give their grunts and their moans and their thing. They couldn't say anything, but they could moan and they could grunt. Right. And they could ask me the time. They could say, Coach, how much time do I have left? And I would tell them, you got 30 seconds left. Right. And they would work, and then they would get up and they would shake off their legs, and I'd give them 60 seconds. And then I would say, back down to a wall sit. And we did several reps of these. And they were, again, I'm not sure they liked them at all. Nobody expressed to me, we love those wall sits. That probably would have changed everything, though. Think about it in their language. Coach, we love these wall sits. And their crew would have been like, awesome. Well, I decided to change their mind one day. After doing a couple of them, I said, go down this time, but this time, team, I want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to walk you through the perfect point. So now they're in the squat position. They're in the chair position. And I said, everybody close your eyes. I'm going to take you through a beautiful point, a beautiful game. And I described the game. I said, you hit a powerful serve up the middle of the court. Your opponent barely gets it back. It leads you to hit a forehand cross court that drives you into the net. He barely gets to it, and he throws up a lob. And it takes you back a little bit, but you're so powerful, you swing at that lob and you hit a winner, and you won that point. 15-love. Second point. You hit another powerful serve out wide. And he gets back to it, but it comes a little bit deep. And you roll a forehand cross court. And you can see what I did. I rolled through each point like this. And they started getting excited. Their eyes were closed, and they were imagining this perfect point, this perfect game. And I kept taking through more and more just like this. And they were getting excited because they're like, yeah, come on. And they were sort of high-fiving each other with their eyes closed and things like that. And, great shot and these sorts of things. And then I said, okay, that's it. That's time. Go ahead and stand up. And they were excited. They were high-fiving each other, and like, that was awesome. And I just said, hey, guys, how long do you think that was? And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, how long do you think you went? They said, what do you mean? It was just 3 minutes, right? And I said, well, come look at the stopwatch. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. They could have stayed down for 7 minutes, for 10 minutes. Because what were they focused on? The perfect point, the perfect game. They took their mind to somewhere else. Before, what were they focused on? The time and the pain. The time and the pain. Now you think about this. If you're experiencing any pain in your life, in your business, in your relationship, whatever that might be, if that's what you're focused on, it will remain and be the most prevalent. However, the thing that nobody can take away from you is what you think and what you say. You have that power. And whatever you focus on expands. Nobody can steal that from you. Nobody can rob that from you. I am in my book, in the language of gratitude, thankfulness, and appreciation, you'll remember that I tell a story about Viktor Frankl. And he was a Holocaust survivor. And he said, nobody can take away from us the last freedoms. And it's the freedom to determine what we think, our freedom to respond to a situation. He responded with gratitude to the Nazi soldiers that were cruel to him. Others cursed them. And he said that, and he survived and wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he says that will kill somebody faster than the sword. Cursing others, cursing situations. I'm reading another story right now called The Choice. It's by Dr. Eva Eger. I'm reading it right now. She too is a Holocaust survivor. And she says the same thing. Right? Out of 15,000, there were 75 that survived in her company. 75. It's because they took their mind somewhere else. They saw beauty somehow when things were dark and they had everything stripped from them. Now, nobody on this call tonight has experienced anything even close to a Holocaust. But again, if you have pain, if you have opportunities for growth, aka challenges right now, if you focus on them, they will get bigger. However, if you focus on what you do want, which is them to be solutionized, then you'll get more of that. My friends, again, whatever you focus on expands. Now, be conscious of these things. Be conscious of the things you focus on. There's your opportunity. Are they progressive, you could ask, or are they digressive? Are they progressive or are they digressive? And think about, yes, in the mind, but also in your language. Is what you're about to say, here's a filter, is what you're about to say going to be helpful or hurtful? Are people going to appreciate that I said something or de-appreciate that I said something? Do more people want to be around me because of what I say and how I show up, or not be around me? In fact, when you show up to a situation, your very presence, is the situation automatically better or worse because you're there? In your mind, answer your own question. Right? Or what would people say? You know, when such and such a person shows up, things are about to get better. Things are about to get good because they came. Or do they say, oh no, so-and-so's here, there it goes, right? Things are not going to be good. Think about it. That's just a self-evaluation. And no matter what level you're at, you can improve. You can improve somewhere. So have that filter before it comes out of your mouth. Is this going to make the situation better or bitter? Helpful or hurtful? I was speaking to a group of soldiers called Navy SEALs. Now, Navy SEALs are some of the most elite soldiers on the planet. Their training, I'm convinced that their training is, you know, as long as you survive and don't die during the training to become a Navy SEAL, that you become a Navy SEAL if you don't die. It's pretty gruesome. They've told me about some of them. And I was speaking to these high-level soldiers, and they said, as I was talking about our responses, they said, we have something, a creed, and really a methodology of how we respond. And listen close to this, because this is so powerful. It's a filter. And here's the initials. S, stop. L, listen. P, pause. R, respond. SLPR. SLPR. Stop, listen, pause, respond. When they're in a situation, because sometimes they're in very hostile situations, and the very words they say could mean life or death, literally. They stop, they listen to the whole situation of people talking or evaluate the situation. They pause, and in that pause, they determine, is this going to be helpful or hurtful? Progressive or digressive? And then they finally speak. See, we've all said things sometimes we don't think before we speak. We say things that we wish we hadn't said. And I've seen very marriages split up because of something someone said. Think how interesting that is, because you can't get it back. Right? It's out there. You can ask for forgiveness and things like that, but once you say it, it's out there. Now, hopefully a person will forgive you or give you a redo or a restart. In fact, that's something my wife and I wasn't planning on telling you this, but here I go. Sometimes, look, I'm not perfect at this. Sometimes I'll say things without thinking it all the way through. And in some way, and sometimes I'll say things I didn't realize were going to be hurtful. But to my wife, it was sensitive and it was hurtful. How do I get that back? Well, it may cause her to decide to have her feelings hurt, because I can't hurt her feelings, but she can decide to have her feelings hurt. And sometimes that happens. And I, have the choice to do the same thing. And I'll say, sweetheart, whatever you call your significant other, that's what I call mine. I'll say, sweetheart, can I have a redo? Can I just have a restart? Can we just do that again? Can I give the response that now that I've thought it through, recognize it'll be helpful and not hurtful? Will you forgive me for that last one? And we have the restart relationship. It's amazing. And she'll say, sure. So there we go. I'll say, here's what I would rather say. Here's what I want to say. And I'll say the positive things, and we'll just forget. We'll forget that fast and forgive that fast. Now we've established that relationship. I encourage you to do the same with whoever the relationships are in your life. It's been the most amazing thing, actually. Have a redo, have a restart, right? Okay, can you give me another chance? Why I'm so willing to give a person unlimited other chances? Because God gives me another chance every day. Now, there's not a day that I don't repent and go through. I go through my day and I recognize, where did I waste the Lord's time? Or where did I waste time? And I evaluate my day that way. And then I repent for it. And every time he says, sure, of course, I've got you. There's no limits. So if there's no limits with me and I want unlimited with him, I have no limits with people. As many redos, restarts they want to have, they've got it. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful space to live in. Trust. Let me paint a picture for you. On the screen, those that can see it, and if you don't, I'll paint the picture for you. We've all been in a car, and there's a gas meter. And the gas meter tells us, is the gas tank empty or is it full? Well, right now on the screen, I'm showing a gas tank that is full of gas. Well, let's say you drove in and turned off the road, and now you're in an arid desert. And there's no gas stations in sight. There's no stores in sight. There's no humanity in sight. And you don't know when that's going to show up. You don't know how far it's going to be before you come across civilization. But your gas tank is full. How much confidence do you have? Well, in one of my cars, I can go over 400 miles with the full gas tank. So I'm pretty confident that within 400 miles, I'm going to come across civilization. I'm going to be okay. My confidence is high. Now let's take the same scenario and you look down at your gas meter and it shows empty. And you don't see civilization anywhere in sight. How's your confidence? A little scary, wouldn't you agree? It's a little scary. The trust that you're going to find something close or that you might be stranded in the desert are pretty high. Well, I call this the trust meter. And with people, is my trust full for them, that they have confidence that I'm going to do the right thing and do what I say and say what I do because that's what I've done every time? Or is the trust meter pretty low with them, that they're not sure if I'm going to do the right thing? They're not sure I'm going to make the right decision. And I promise you, with everybody, you establish a trust meter. They trust if you are going to do the right thing and have integrity or not. It's crucial to build this with people. One way is, as I say in my book, in the words of integrity, is to have committal language. Commit to do what you say and say what you do. The more you do that, the more trust you'll have with people. Here's a phrase: people may doubt what you say, but they will always believe what you do. People may doubt what you say, but they will always believe what you do. You've heard it said, well, your actions just spoke so loudly, we couldn't hear you. Actions is a language, right? What we physically do, can you be counted on? I mean, there's certain people in my life, I can think of 5 right now, and then it gets really thin after that, but 5 for sure. I could say, I need you at my house by Monday. And some live across the country. in California. Some live in Cape Town, South Africa. Another one lives in Sydney, Australia. And the other 2 live in the United States in the Midwest. But these 5 people, I said, I need you here in my house by Monday. Will you be here? And if they say yes, it's done. I know guaranteed they're going to be here. And if they can't be here, they're going to say, Thomas, I'm not able to be there. Can I be there by Tuesday or Wednesday? That's still commitment. None of them, 0 of those specific people I just thought of, will say, let me see if I can make it. Let me try to make it to your house. Maybe I'll make it there. None of them would say that. And nor can I trust that. They're either going to be here or they're not. Well, you're either going to do what you say or you're not. So if you're not able to get the job done, say, you know what? We're not going to have it done by this day. Here's where we'll have it done. And then with integrity, if I see that the job's not going to be done at a certain time, I would call them and say, look, our responsibility, we're taking full ownership for this. We need 2 more days to do this. People respect that. They respect that versus leaving them in limbo. Here's a phrase: to be loved is commonplace, but to be trusted is in an exalted league of its own. To be loved is commonplace. I love everybody. I do, but I don't trust everybody. Just in my opinion, I think God says that. I think he says, I love everybody, but I don't trust everybody. Can you be trusted? Can he trust you to get the job done? Can he trust if he puts an impression on your heart to go visit a neighbor or to call somebody or to lift them up or call a friend or call a family member, not even knowing why, that you can do it, that you'll do it? Can he trust that? I want him to be able to count on me. Here's an opportunity I want to give you this week. For the next 7 days, do everything you say you're going to do. And then make that a habit. Do everything you say you're going to do. If you said you're going to do it, do it. Said you're going to be there, be there. If you're not going to be there, say, I'm not going to be there. Just matter of fact. Don't put any mamby-pamby non-committal language around it. That's non-committal. If you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to be there, be there. If you can't or not able, say, I'm not going to be there. That's commitment. I love what Keith Wilmot said. Now, Keith Wilmot's a high executive at the company Coca-Cola, which is actually right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Think about this phrase. This is a writer downer. Trust is the ultimate human currency. Currency is how things move. We think of currency as money or monetary. Trust is the ultimate human currency. When I can be trusted, and consider this, that he or she who does not trust cannot be trusted. So, for example, if you say, I don't trust anybody, nobody will trust you. You have to build that muscle and then forgive when trust is broken. Trust that they're going to make it right. Give them a redo. Give them a restart. But call it out. Here's what we expected. This didn't happen. Let's keep our trust going and give them another chance. People want to be trusted, and it's the ultimate human currency. So if you want to have a bunch of currency, a bunch of wealth, have a bunch of trust. Now, also trust that everything is working out for your good. Absolutely trust that everything is working out for your good. Those aren't even my words. That's Romans 8:28. Everything always works. All things work together for good to those that love God. I didn't come up with that, right? That's scriptural. That's doctrinal. So, but do you trust it? Honestly, do you trust that everything that's happening is for your good? Everything. I just spoke to I was coaching a CEO who owns a therapist company. So they work with people who have emotional and mental opportunities for growth. And this gal's a therapist, and I was coaching her, and she's had some major social trauma and things like that in her life, and she's a therapist. And she's like, I'm in a hole myself, and these are the people that I'm trying to serve. And she was just down the dumps, and she was losing customers all the time and losing clients and patients because they because the trust was low, because she was just, how is she going to help them if she was so low in her own depression hole? And I said, what if you realized that in order to serve people at this level, that, you know, you knew you were going to be in this industry, that you had to have these experiences so you could relate to people, saying, because people come and saying, you won't know how I feel. And she could say, I do know how you feel, but you have to get out of that dark hole. So you can say, you know, that there's hope. And it just opened up her eyes. It's like, oh my goodness. And it turned this into a blessing and gratitude instead of a curse and blaming and criticizing. Yeah. Look at this, like, look, you're being blessed to know that you've experienced what these people are experiencing, and you know what the other side looks like, but you've got to get out so you can see what the other side looks like. It changed her thinking, and she started to trust that. So even in those circumstances, instead of blaming the circumstance, trust the circumstance. Trust it. Now, let's see. I'm going to share a story with you. Do I have time? I might go a few minutes over, Verle. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Do your thing. I can't believe our 90 minutes is almost up.
Believe it. So, I was speaking in Southern California on one occasion, and if it's ever on a Sunday where I have to stay over, I don't speak on Sundays, but if it's late on Saturdays, I'm not able to get by, I'll stay in that area just so I can kind of have that day off and do my communion and things. And on this particular day, I found just a local congregation, a local just church to go worship as I do, and just so I was driving there, and nobody was there at this particular chapel. And I had my scriptures, and I set them on the back of my vehicle, and I started looking on my phone, try to find another local church and maybe a time that I could just go random. I know as it sounds, that's just something that I do. And so I got back in the car, I found another one, and I got back in the car, and I'm driving, and I realized, and I looked over to the passenger seat, and I realized, oh no, where's my scriptures? Where's my Bible? Where's my Bible? And I realized I left it on the tailgate of my car. I didn't bring it in. And I'd driven on a California freeway, which is a fast freeway. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's gone. There's no way. Now, this was a special Bible. It was a gift to me. I'd had all sort of markings on it, and I had written things in there and notes, and it was just a special thing for me. And I look in the rearview mirror, and I see it's still on my tailgate. It's still, while I'm driving down the freeway, it's stuck there. And I'm thinking, oh boy, do I stop immediately? People are going 70 and 80 miles an hour down this freeway. No, I get off the freeway and I start driving down the road, and I'm just thinking, drive slowly. Don't let this go anywhere. You know, it could ruin all of it. And I have this feeling, do I pull into this parking lot? The feeling is no, pull into the next one. So I pull, and interesting enough, I pull into the next parking, and it's a bank. Well, it's a Sunday, so the bank isn't open. And I go back and I look and I see my Bible there, and there it is. I take a picture of it. I'm thinking, how did you stay there? There it was. It didn't move. Now, I'm saying a prayer saying thank you. And then I get back in my car, but I want you to, those that can see this, there's a man in the distance of this bank. And again, the bank is closed, but he's over in the distance, and I'm pointing to him there. And I get back in my car, and this man sees that I pull into this parking lot, and he walks over to me. Well, have you ever had that feeling that it's a little unsettling, almost like something's, either he's going to ask me for money, I didn't know, but I felt a little unsettled. And he came over to me right up to my window, and I locked the doors a bit. And he said, hey, here's his story. His name is Ernie. And he said, I was just let out of prison. Now, that's probably not the best thing to tell somebody that's to start off a conversation, right? But he said, I was just finished my prison sentence, and I live up in a neighboring city that's about 2 hours from here, and I had an opportunity to come and get some work down here. And the work was awarded to somebody else, and I drove all the way here, and I'm sort of stuck. I don't have any gas. I'm trying to get home. And he said, I'm serious. He takes off his wedding ring and he gives it to me, and he hands it, and I don't take it, but he says, please, I just need to get home. Here's my wedding ring. You can have it. It's pure gold. Do you have anything I can get some gas and get home? He was serious. He was sincere. I recognized he wasn't trying to get anything. He really wanted to get home and just trying to make a life for himself again. And I said, Ernie, you don't have to give me your wedding ring. And he says, I told him, I said, I typically don't carry cash on me. I didn't at that time. The day before, I'm at a hotel and I'm at the ATM, and this particular hotel only valet parked. And so you had to have cash to pay the valet workers. And I'm at the valet and I'm going to pull out $20, something like that. Well, I had this feeling, no, pull out a lot more money. And at that time, it wasn't my habit. But okay. So I pulled out a lot more money in cash. And all of a sudden, this feeling came over me. Like, why did I pull out that cash? And the feeling was, it was for Ernie. And not only that, I wouldn't have been in that parking lot if I didn't leave my Bible on the back of my car. Not only that, I felt the feeling not to turn into parking lots before, but to turn into this exact parking lot. I took out all of the cash and I told Ernie, I said, here's what happened. I left my Bible, and I told him the story, and he starts to cry. And I gave him all my cash. I said, Ernie, God has certainly given you a redo. He's certainly given you a restart. He wanted me to give you all this money. He led me right here at this point for you. I said, you're loved. Go be successful. Stick with it. Focus on the good. Don't focus on the pain. I took a picture. There's Ernie and me. Do you trust that everything is working out for your good? Do you respond or do you react? Had I reacted, that I left my scriptures in the back, Ryan, why is this happening to me? Or why, oh no, and now a guy's going to come over and he's going to want my money. No. Trust. With good judgment, of course, but trust that things are working out for your good. Always. Always. If you're going through an opportunity for growth right now, that too is for your growth. That too is for your good. So you could tell somebody someday who might be experiencing the same thing. And I know, Verle, you've had opportunities for growth in the beginnings of your business and even now. And you can relate to people when they're saying, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm doing it. Stick with it. You've got this. Everything is compiling to qualify you for your next level of success. And then the question is, aren't we all beggars? Right? In a sense, aren't we all beggars just like Ernie? Aren't we begging that somehow we'll have some grace and some mercy, that things will work out? Well, I'm here to tell you that, yes, there are people in your path. There are people that are going to show up for you. Why? Because great things are always happening for you. Great things just like that are always happening for you. And sometimes you're the giver and sometimes you're the receiver. But either way, great things are always happening for you. I love what Mother Teresa said when it comes to wealth. True wealth, my friends, is having enough to share. True wealth in this life is having enough to share. then it begs the reality of this. Aren't we all, in some measure, wealthy then? Don't we all have something to share? And you may not have the monetary, the money to share right now. But look, can you give people a smile? Can you give them words of encouragement, a prayer, something, a financial blessing? Don't you have something to share? Your opportunity is to share your wealth with people in some measure. Being wealthy is having enough to share. Well, just what about kind words? Sometimes it's the words that lift people where they thought there was no hope anymore. Maybe you thought, I'm going to text a person. I don't know why. I'm just going to tell them, you know what? I appreciate you. And of all my blessings, you are at the top of the list. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I appreciate our world's a better place because you're in it. And you may never know why they needed that. Aren't we all wealthy? We are. Here's what I'll end with. Oftentimes, we get attached to whether people commit to things in our life, whether they commit, whether we get a deal or a new contract or something like that. And I'm telling you, this can be detrimental. We get attached to whether somebody stays on my team or not. And this could be detrimental. Here is your new creed right here. You be 100% committed and 0% attached. 100% committed to people, to success, to great relationships, but I'm 0% attached to whether they do business with me or not. Especially in the making of deals or getting a contract. I'm 100% committed to it, but I'm 0% attached, no emotion whether they do it or not. If they feel that I'm attached, something that's a dispeller, that's it almost like a rejection. It's not attractive. In business, I built a pretty large insurance agency. I've interviewed close to 800 people over the course of 8 years, right? I had close to 400 agents in my agency. 120 were business writers, you know what I mean? And for each one, they knew I'm 100% committed to you, to your success, to helping you, but I'm 0% attached whether you stay or not, or whether you decide to go and make something happen for yourself. I'm not attached to it. We're going to be successful with or without you. Whether I get the next deal or not, we're going to succeed whether we get that deal or not. I'm not attached, but I'm 100% committed to it. And it's the most freeing thing. Be committed, but let go of the attachment. Because attaching is grabbing, it's squeezing, it's chasing. See, chasing is an interesting thing. If I were to chase you, even if we had a relationship, Verle, my friend, if I start chasing Verle, even though he knows me, right? What's the natural reaction? He's going to run. He's going to run away from me, even if he knows me. So if you find yourself chasing people, chasing business, they're going to run. Be attractive. No, success is not pursued. Success is attracted. Be attractive in your language. Be attractive in your thoughts. Be accountable. Have integrity. These are all attractive things. And may God bless you as you do so. Thank you, Verle, for the opportunity. Go change your language. Go change your results. I appreciate you all. I'm expecting great things from all of you so you can make this world a better place. So that was it from me, Verle. I'll let you take it from here and we'll end it.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you, Thomas. It was awe-inspiring and such a huge blessing for all of us. Over 60 people tonight with us, all learning, all taking notes, and all becoming better people because of your encouragement and your talk. So I just want to say huge thank you. It was definitely worth the effort and the time spent to promote this event and this talk. And I just hope that all the words that you spoke to us will become a part of us. Our prayer is that it will become part of our lives so that we can all become better people and have deeper and healthier, more healthy relationships. Thank you again, Thomas. May God bless all of you.
Thank you, everybody. My pleasure. Have a great night.